Good afternoon, one and all. So I am Kunal Chakraborty. I am working as a scientist at Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services located at Hyderabad. I am going to deliver a talk on the monitoring and the forecasting of biogeochemical state of the Indian Ocean. So the outline of my talk will be as follows. First, I will be taking a couple of minutes to introduce the INCOAS and what kind of works we are doing. And then I will be talking about the Indian Ocean Observation Network. It will have three major components. This is biogeochemical Argo floats and the BGC sensors in Omni moorings and coastal water quality buoy network. Then I will talk about the operational modeling framework of INCOAS, followed by the physical and biological interactions of the Indian Ocean. And then I will finish with the application of our research, like the potential fishing zone forecast. So to start with, the importance why I am going to introduce the institute is that if in order to make you understand the importance and the applications of our research, it is necessary to know what exactly we are doing at INCOAS. So our mandate is to provide ocean information and advisory services to the society, industry, government agencies, and scientific community as well. And this is being done through sustainable observation and constant improvements in our systematic and focused research. So the next slide is going to tell you the scientific structure of our institute. So if I start from the lower to the upper arrows, so you can see basically we have two components which are consist of remote sensing satellites, which are like OceanSat 1, OceanSat 2, Saral Altica, and some foreign satellites. And then we have in situ observations that is being carried out on regular basis using several instruments that I'm going to introduce in later slides. And then you can see like these are basically connected with satellite oceanography and these ocean sciences and the modeling. And then we are basically using high performing computing resources available with us, and our models are basically running, and that models are being used to forecast the ocean state and other allied services. So in terms of services, you can see we are providing a couple of services which are listed at the top, like potential fishing zone advisory services, ocean state forecast, then early warning for the tsunami and the storm surges. And then we are also contributing to the weather, monsoon, and climate forecast. And then value-added services like coastal management, followed by data services. And we have a center called IPCO Ocean, which is International Training Center for Operational Oceanography. It's a Category 2 center under UNESCO. In the right-hand side, you can see our users, like the fishing community, coastal states, IMD, Navy, Coast Guards, ports and harbors, offshore industries, and on top of that, all the research institutes and academia. So that's the overall scenario of the institute. Now, let me tell you what are the observations that are being done. If you can see this slide, here actually you will get an idea about the ocean observation network that at present we are having. You can see there's a huge investment has been made by the government of India in order to have sustained observations in and around the Indian Oceans. So let me show you what kind of observations we are having. So these are categorized into three categories. So this first you can see about the in situ observations or in situ data, followed by remote sensing that is mainly coming from the satellites. And then we are having several cruises and other collaborating institutional projects for collecting data. So you can see the green color boxes. These are the specific observations which we are receiving on real time, which includes Argo floats, wave rider buoys, wave height meters, HF radars, tide gauge, BPRs, mood buoys, drifting buoys, and seaborne automatic weather stations. And the light blue colors observations, these are coming in the offline mode. And if you see the other part, that is the cruise data that also we are using. So if you see, that is the present status of our ocean observation network, and we are having some sister organizations like NIOT located at Chennai, and then NCCR and IITM. So all of the institutes also involved with us in order to make those observations. So this is basically being done to monitor the ocean. So These are the specific objectives of the Ocean Observation Network. This is being established to collect sustained long-term marine meteorological as well as oceanographic data from the open ocean as well as coastal waters of the tropical Indian Ocean to facilitate the existing services and to validate the capability of our model, to assimilate this data into the model to make improved forecast, and then obviously to go ahead with the climate services. So this is the overall importance of the ocean observations. If you see the right side, there are three different observations. These are very important to have the biogeochemical observations. The first one, that is Argo float network, which approximately 50 floats per year we used to deploy in the Indian Ocean. And then VGC sensor that is installed in the Omni mooring, and then followed by coastal water quality buoy network. So these three are the major observations component for the biogeochemistry part. Apart from, we are having physical and other made observations. So in the next slide, let me introduce the Argo profiling float network. You can see in the right hand side, it's a part of the global program. So this GOOS, it stands for Global Ocean Observing System. So our Argo program is a component of the GOOS, and Indian version we used to call it Indian Ocean Observing Network, that is INDOOS or IOGOOS. So under that, we used to deploy 50 Argo floats in a year. And you can see the right hand side, this is the network. I don't know whether you can see the name of the all the states that is being listed with the different color. So this color actually stands for the number of Argo floats that is being deployed by these specific countries, including India. In the middle panel, you can see there is a specific Indian Ocean, and it's basically filled with two colors, green and red. So green color are the Argos which are equipped with physical sensor. So it is basically having temperature and salinity profiles, whereas you can see the red colors, this is are the Argos which are equipped with physical as well as biogeochemical sensors for collecting data from the Indian Ocean. So this is the coverage you can see. Now, how Argo works, you can see that animation here. If you see this Argo, when it is deployed, it is first going to the drifting depth of 1000 meters. Then it is drifting 9 days into the ocean with the ocean dynamics, or rather you can say the ocean currents. Then further it is going 1000 meters again below down, that is the descending depth. While it is coming in the ascending mode, that is towards up, that time it is basically recording the data, and immediately when it touches the surface, it is providing the data to us through satellites, and our ground station is receiving that data. So typically you can see the entire cycle of one Argo profile is almost 10 days. But we are having the technology, we can control that specific 10 days as per our requirement. So like when the cyclonic activities are already forecasted, that time we used to basically have that technology in place to make use of data in high temporal resolutions. So that's the typical structure how Argo works. Now, this is the specific mooring, Omni mooring, that is deployed in the Arabian Sea. This is one example. This is the Arabian Sea oxygen minima zone where this mooring is deployed, and it is basically installed with biogeochemical sensors. So that particular sensor is recording data for a long time. So for like 1 year or 2 years, continuous data in high temporal frequency that is being captured by these specific moorings. And within a gap of 1 year or 2 years, we used to go for the maintenance of that mooring and calibration as well. So that way, that specific mooring network also being placed for getting the biogeochemical observations. Apart from that, we are in the process of having coastal water quality buoy all along the Indian coast. This is basically the new project that we have undertaken. That is, if you see the upper panel, the right hand side corner figure, we have conducted few cruises, coastal cruises in the Bay of Bengal to identify the locations where exactly we should have the moorings in order to have the optimal use of the resources to get the maximum utilization. So these are the locations that is being identified all along the Indian coast, starting from West Bengal coast in Digha, then Vizag near to Chennai, then Kochi, and then in the top, near to Karnataka coast, and then Gujarat, Veerawal. So these are the locations where we have identified to have those water quality moorings. Now, if you see, these are the in situ observations. So now let me just talk about the remote sensing data products that we are using. So we are having a couple of satellites like MODIS, Aquaterra, then WEEDS, and then OCM, that is basically launched by the ISRO. So those satellites we are using to have these chlorophyll, surface chlorophyll data, then sea level height, sea surface temperature, and scatterometer data, scatterometer satellite sensors are also used in SCATSAT satellites to have the winds data as well. So these are the data products from the remote sensing platform. You can see when we are talking about the remote sensing, we are having a couple of problems to have this kind of graded data, since it already depends on the pass and the cloud cover and several other factors basically creating problem in the data coverage. So nowadays, we are having several March data products that are combined of several mission mode observations that is combined, then coming up with very high resolution spatial and temporal coverage of the Indian Ocean, surface chlorophyll, and then SST and all. So these data are very useful for the applications in the real time. Now, if I am talking, so as of now, we have talked about the observations that we have basically made use for developing our systems. Now, let me talk about the models that we are basically using in INCOIS. So this is the operational modeling system at INCOIS that is being used for forecast the ocean state. When I am talking about the ocean state, I am talking about the physical state of the ocean as well as biogeochemical state of the ocean. So the main model that we are using is the Regional Ocean Modeling System, ROMS. It's a community model, so anybody from the world can contribute to that modeling system. And this modeling system can be used as per your requirement, and you can configure as per your choice in your area of interest. So we have developed these models for the Indian Oceans that is specifically being used for the forecasting. Apart from that, for other applications like the cyclonic track, and then wave forecast, and then that tsunami as well as storm surge forecast, we are using several other models like HICOM, WaveWatch 3, SWAN, ADSARC, etc. So these are the models that is being used operationally in INCOIS for the forecasting purpose. So you can see here in the right hand side, that's the like the total architecture, how observations are coming, and then how basically atmospheric forcing we are getting from the NCOM system. This NCOM is basically another atmospheric model that is installed in the NCMWF, stands for National Center for Medium Range Weather Forecast, located at Noida. So they are running atmospheric model. They are providing that atmospheric model output, and we are using that model output to force the ocean models. And then after forcing the ocean models, finally we used to come up with this kind of applications that are listed, like ocean state forecast, potential fishing zone forecast, search and rescue advisories, and oil spill trajectories like that. Now, if I give you a glimpse about the domain of our modeling framework, it gives you like this. So globally, we are only running the analysis. We are not basically providing any forecast in the global scale. However, when it comes to the regional scale, we are providing the Indian Ocean forecast. So the global analysis is providing the boundary conditions for the Indian Ocean models. And that boundary conditions are getting used, and then the Indian Ocean models are running for providing the forecast, and that's right now providing in the 5 days forecast in advance, and that is being generated each day and getting updated regularly. And then apart from that, since our all activities are basically restricted all in and around the coast, so we are having very high resolution coastal models. So these are the specific domains that we have developed to providing specific high resolution forecast for the coastal waters. Now, if I'm talking about the biogeochemical state of the Indian Ocean, you can get a glimpse here. So this is the Indian Ocean domain, 30° east from 120° east, and then from 30° south to 30° north. This is the Indian Ocean domain. This is the model where we are providing the physical and biochemical state of the ocean, and then we are having high resolution model for the west coast of India and for the east coast of India. So that domains are basically shown here. So the objective is to basically meet the operational and scientific needs of the institute to provide the ocean state forecast as well as the allied services that are provided on regular basis from INCOAS. So these models are run for 5 days in hindcast mode and then followed by 5 days in forecast mode, and thereby regularly it is updating the analysis analysis of the biochemical state of the Indian Ocean. So that way it is running. So each day it is basically running by the operational team. So if I list the few parameters, what exactly we are updating, it includes nitrate, ammonium, chlorophyll A, dissolved oxygen, carbon fluxes of the Indian Ocean in the biochemical state. And then the major applications that is being used for from this modeling framework is the development of PFG forecast system. So I'm going to give you what is PFG and how we have developed this system in later slides. So it's very important when we are talking about the model, it's very important how good model is basically simulating the biochemical state of the ocean. So in order to see that, we have made a couple of validation exercise with the model simulations. You can see the upper panel, this is the data that is recorded by the Argo floats. Since I have already told you, it's basically recording the profiles. So this is the time depth section. You can see the axis, y-axis stands for the depth, that is up to 100-meter depth, and this x-axis is nothing but the time. So this Argo recorded data is used from 2013 to 2015, 3 years continuous profiles we used to see how good it is basically simulating the deep chlorophyll maxima in the Indian Ocean. So that Argo was basically, this is the track. You can see in the left-hand side, the track of the Argo is projected in the Bay of Bengal. So, and if you see the dots, these are the profile locations. So those profile locations, if you just club, you will get a plot like this, whatever is projected in the right-hand side. So upper panel stands for the chlorophyll and the lower panel stands for the dissolved oxygen. So you can see the existence of low oxygen waters in the Bay of Bengal is clearly visible from the observation as well as from the model simulations. This magenta color, you can see the range. It's basically 0 to 20 micromole per liter. So that's why it's basically considered as the oxygen minima zone in the Arabian Sea as well as in the Bay of Bengal. Now, a similar exercise is being carried out in the Arabian Sea, and you can see the validation has been shown in the right-hand side. Now, this we have done using the institute data. We have also made use of our remote sensing data to make this kind of validation exercise. You can see we have used this ROMS 1/4 is nothing but a coarse resolution models, that is 25 degree. So it's the degree when we are considering 25 kilometers as the resolution for the ROMS 1/4. ROMS 1/12, it's basically almost 9 kilometers spatially averaged grid. So you can see here from this slide, the high resolution model is doing better when we are comparing with the observations in simulating the ocean state. So that specific application is shown in that slide as well. You can see the improvement from the scatter plot as well when we have low resolution model and the high resolution model. So the data assimilation is the another technique that is being used to improving the ocean state. So we have a couple of observations you can see. So when the model is started drifting, we are basically takes the model state towards the observation so that it will again have an improved initial conditions, and then we can improve the model state for having a better forecast. So that's the technique being used. So right now you can see these are the data that is being assimilated in the model. You can see the profiles in the left panel, and the right panel you can see the satellite track that is being basically assimilated into the model. Now the potential fishing zone advisories, that the applications I was talking about, is nothing but a service that is being provided by INCOAS using remote sensing data, that is NOAA, AVHRR and MODIS Aqua satellite and Oceans 2 satellites on a regular basis. So we are identified few zones from the oceans and provided to the common fishermen through different dissemination mode. And we can say these are the areas where you can have maximum catch. So it are having multiple benefits. The fishermen can save their efforts and they can save in terms of fuel as well. And it is having the environmental implications as well. So how to demarcate? These are applications that can be seen from different documents. I am not going to describe that, but this is the architecture that you can understand from the satellite data. We are getting regular basis these SST and chlorophyll data that is being processed to provide this. You can see these black lines that are provided all along the Indian coast. So we are telling to the people that these are the areas where you can get the maximum fish. Now, if I'm talking about this service, we are having several difficulties when we are using only remote sensing data. Since I've already told, due to cloud coverage, there are lots of data gaps. So if you don't have data, it's not possible to basically delineate those lines. So model is another option that is being used to basically reduce this hindrance, and then subsequently graduating these advisories into the forecast. And apart from that, model is simulating the subsurface. So we can basically introduce deep chlorophyll maxima, then oxycline and other related indicators for generating these specific potential fishing zones. So that's the reason we have made use of the model data, and then we came up with the forecast of potential fishing zones using the model simulation. So you can see now we are using satellite as well as model data, and then we are generating that specific products for the common man. So it is basically reducing the efforts or dependency on our dependency on the satellite data, only on the satellite data. So as in terms of applications, you can see there are several things that can be basically taken with that. I have shown only one application, that is the graduation of PFCs from advisory to forecast level. Apart from that, there are several things. You can see the right hand side lower. This is the schematic diagram. Right now we are in this state, but finally we are working on a project into end-to-end approach so that we can also take about the dynamic fish modeling in the later stage. So thank you for your attention. That's all I was having. I would like to thank the Indian Academy of Sciences for providing me this opportunity to basically talk about our research in this forum. And I would like to acknowledge the Ministry of Earth Sciences for the financial support we are having. And apart from that, you can understand it's a huge work in terms of observations and data, this modeling. So I would like to thank our colleagues from Ocean Observation Network Division and Ocean Modeling Data Assimilation Division. And apart from that, specifically the Aditya and Mihir, these are the HPCs. These are used for simulating these models. So I would like to thank the support team, including the group director and director of inquiries. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Chakraborty. So I have time. We have time for one question, and I was just wondering, and I'm going to ask you this question. When we do terrestrial satellite monitoring, let's say we're doing vegetation monitoring, we often have this thing of ground truthing, because we have to go and actually see, physically what the satellite tells us. And so how do you do ocean truthing, so to speak?
Okay, I understood your question. I understand basically how to basically believe the satellite data, whatever we are getting from the satellite. So you can see, I didn't actually explain. There is a study that we have carried out. You can see in this slide. See, in the coast, in the west coast, these green, these blue dots, these are the institute data that is being collected by our colleagues. And on that specific locations, we have identified the satellite data. And then we made a correlation, how good satellite data is basically correlating with our institute observations. And even right-hand side, the same exercise has been carried out for the Bay of Bengal. So that way we have come up, like the accuracy of the satellite data, like I can tell in terms of percentage, almost 80 to 90% in that specific range, the satellite data can be considered for making this kind of decisions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That clarifies.